Be with you here on Dogs on Demand on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, and all those other places. I've been getting some messages from folks that say they've been saying, "Well, hey, dude, where are you? Football season is underway." Well, we've been dealing with some health issues and just trying to make things. I'm sure everything is a-okay. But we appreciate your prayers and we appreciate your support here at Dogs on Demand, where we try to keep up with what's happening with the University of Georgia. Now, we're doing some pregame stuff here. As you see in the background that we have behind us, the shot of the background we have behind us, the stadium is empty. Well, obviously, that's just a pretty picture. We're not on location in Athens today, but we are keeping our eye, obviously, of course, on what's happening at Sanford Stadium. And if you'd like to chime in a little bit about what's going on with the University of Georgia, we encourage you to do so. Just, drop us a message and we'll chat a little bit about that. We'll talk about UGA. We'll talk about some of the other things that are going on right now in college football. Just quickly checking some scores from today. Oregon, it looks like, yeah, they did take out Colorado today, 42-6, big time win. Wow, for the University of Oregon. And that might quiet some of the hype a little bit around the University of Colorado football team because, since the beginning of the season, pretty much Colorado, the Buffaloes, have dominated college football as far as some of the coverage is concerned. But Oregon with a big win today. Kansas winning over BYU. Those were two undefeated teams playing against one another. Kansas winning 38-27. And just going final of the University of Alabama, taking out Ole Miss in SEC action today. Big win for the Crimson Tide over Ole Miss. Some people, final score 24-10. Some people had picked, of course, Ole Miss to win that game. But I never really was completely sold on the fact that Ole Miss might actually go in to Alabama and win that game. So Alabama winning today. Kentucky taking out Vanderbilt today, 45-28 in one of the earlier games. And Texas A&M winning over Auburn, 27-10. Of course, Auburn will be the next opponent for the University of Georgia. And some pretty good games coming up later on. Florida State, of course, winning over Clemson, 31-24. That was in overtime, a final in overtime. So the Seminoles might actually be kind of sort of living up to the hype. Clemson now falls to 2-2 on the season. Florida State goes to 4-0. Florida State, of course, the number 4 ranked team in the country coming into the game today. Michigan winning over Rutgers today, 31-7. Pretty convincing win for the number 2 ranked Michigan Wolverines today. Just perusing some of the other scores as they come in. That's pretty much. Well, Tennessee winning over today over the University of Texas at San Antonio, 45-14. But in Athens, well, here we go. In Athens, we have Georgia taking on UAB. Randy Payne, my good buddy from Tifton, Georgia. How you doing, my friend? Good to have you along with us. Go Dogs and go God. Amen. What a combination. Absolutely. And Trip Block coming in and joining us, checking in on our son, Matthew, who's been dealing with some health issues. And appreciate you checking in with that, Trip. And Matthew is doing well. He is progressing well. So what do you think about this day of college football? And what do you think about the University of Georgia as Georgia will be taking on UAB tonight? Now, just some of the news that we have, some of the notes that we have on Monday night, we were watching, we love to watch pro football, especially when a team has a former University of Georgia player on it. And of course, we were heartbroken when Nick Chubb, running back for the University of Georgia, suffered that knee injury on Monday night in the NFL game. It was apparently so severe looking that ESPN would not show the replay of it. And of course, Nick Chubb has been in our thoughts and our prayers, all Dog Nation. We've been praying for Nick Chubb. And we got some good news today. Apparently, he did tear his MCL, that ligament in the knee, and he stretched, according to the doctors, the ACL. Now, what that means is that the kneecap, all the other ligaments are intact. The MCL is torn. Nick Chubb will be undergoing surgery next week, according to the doctors. And he should be, according to the doctors, this should be an injury that he can come back from. Chubb might be able to return to full health, and he could be back in 6 to 8 months and able to play in 2024. So isn't that that's good news for Nick Chubb, and we're grateful for to hear that as well from the doctors. Now, as far as Georgia taking on UAB this Saturday, today, for the fourth time in 21 seasons, for a while, UAB didn't have a football program. Back in 2017, in the a couple of years prior to that, UAB, University of Alabama at Birmingham, had suspended football because of the finances and that kind of thing. But they did revive the football program, and so Georgia. Just a little history between Georgia and UAB. Now, the line, the Georgia obviously is the favorite for the game today. The line is like 41 points. Georgia being a favorite by 41 points. We'll see about that. But Georgia, just some of the history between Georgia and UAB. These two teams played back in 2003, and UAB almost pulled the upset back in 2003. Georgia did win 16-13, and that was a season they won the SEC Eastern Championship. And Matthew Stafford made his first start for Georgia against UAB in 2006, and Georgia, led by Matthew Stafford, that team won in 2006, 34-0. And then in 2021, Georgia defeated the UAB team by a score of 56. What? They're the Blazers, right? 56-7. So just a little bit, just a little bit of the history between Georgia and UAB. Georgia has won 21 straight home games, of course. UAB enters the game with a 1-2 record. University of Alabama Birmingham defeated North Carolina A&T in week 1, and then they lost to Georgia Southern. And then last week, UAB lost to Louisiana. Now, it's kind of interesting that today will be the 100th game of Kirby Smart's head coaching career at the University of Georgia. 100 games. Congratulations to Coach Kirby Smart. This is his 100th game on the sidelines as the head coach for the University of Georgia. And it is kind of significant because if Georgia wins today, then Kirby Smart's going to set a record. And the record will be, if Georgia wins today, he will have won more games in the first 100 games of a coach's tenure than any other coach in the history of the SEC. Right now, Kirby at 99 games, he has won 84 of those 99 games. Quite remarkable, really, really, really quite remarkable. And Nick Saban, in his first 100 games of the University of Alabama, won 84. So what that means is this: if Kirby Smart and the University of Georgia win today, Kirby then will have 85 victories in his first 100 games at the University of Georgia. Seriously, dude, that's amazing. And Steve Spurrier had 83 victories in his first 100 games at Florida. Philip Fulmer had 83 victories in his first 100 games at Tennessee. And Bear Bryant had 81 victories in his first 100 games at the University of Alabama. So it's quite a significant day today for Kirby Smart and the University of Georgia. So give me a prediction on the score. Maybe you're kind of perusing through social media and you found us here. We're going to give your I'll give you my prediction. I predict Georgia will win this game 42-3. Sound good? 42-3. Why not? Georgia should win today. But what is your prediction? What do you think Georgia is going to do today? And what is maybe your reaction to some of the games that have occurred today. Ricky Willis says 65-7. Okay, well, that could very well be. And what is your impression of Georgia so far in the season? Now, last Saturday, I mean, seriously, last Saturday was kind of like what? When South Carolina went up, in the first half, 14-3. Georgia, obviously, of course, coming back in the rain to win that game. But they kind of like just said hello to us. But Georgia obviously coming back to win over a pretty decent now. I'm got to tell you, pretty decent South Carolina team. Ted Layson says 45-6. I think so. Ricky Willis wants a better first half. Yeah, I kind of heard Kirby Smart talking about that this week. He says that Georgia is not slow starting as much as they are slow scoring. You know, he kind of made that distinction. I don't know what the distinction may be, but he wants to see Georgia get on the board pretty quick, and so we'll see. So what is your prediction, and what are your feeling? Is your feeling about some of the other scores? We'll check some of the other scores quickly. Utah is beating UCLA. That's a game between two teams in the top 25. Let's see. Iowa State is beating Oklahoma State 34-20. Again, Tennessee is winning in that game against University of Texas at San Antonio. Let's refresh and see if that score has changed any. I don't. It may have gone final. Nope. 6 minutes left to go in that game. Of course, obviously not in jeopardy. Let's see. Florida is just kicked off against Charlotte, Florida, with a big win over Tennessee last week. Hey, are the Gators back? Are we going to have to deal with a rejuvenated University of Florida program? Oh, I hope not. It's hard enough to win in the SEC and the SEC East. But some of these teams that have been down, they start to, get a little life in them. It makes it tough. Now, Georgia will be taking on Auburn next week. It'll be a road game. Georgia has 4 consecutive home games to start the season. And there's been some discussion about, well, Georgia has such a soft schedule and that kind of thing. Just remember now, Georgia was scheduled to play, had on the schedule to play Oklahoma. And the SEC said, no, you can't do that. And Ball State took Oklahoma's place. So this schedule would not have been quite so, soft in the eyes of some people if that Oklahoma game had, had been on the books and had been carried out. But Georgia now 4 consecutive home games. Next week, they'll hit the road against Auburn. And of course, you're 2 times national champions. You're going into the other guy's place. And man, forever are they going to be gunning for you. Georgia now is going to get the Alabama treatment. When Alabama was winning its national championships, and they would go on the road and, they'd go into a stadium of the opposing team and that bunch would be sky high and the crowd would be crazy. And Alabama usually just, delivered the punch that kind of quieted everything. Georgia now is going to have to deal with that. And at Georgia playing Auburn next week on the Plains, that place is going to be crazy next week. Let's see. Oklahoma did win over Cincinnati today, 20-6. Let's see. Georgia Southern beating Ball State today. Again, Oregon has gone final against Colorado 42-6. So Oregon's kind of like, said, okay, we've had enough of the hype with Colorado. Now, Colorado's a good football team, has some pieces, but man, they were playing mighty high, and I think probably a little bit over their head. But they met reality today against a very good Oregon football team that may down the line, you never know, but Oregon could maybe be knocking on the door of the top 4 eventually. That's a very good football team. Bo Nix, of course, the quarterback at Oregon, good football team. Alabama winning over Ole Miss 24-10. So what do you think about all of that? 4 consecutive road wins as well. Yeah. Let's see. Colorado lost big. That was not a surprise. Chris Brockway says Georgia's going to win 48-6. Okay. Ricky Willis, okay, Coach Prime. Yeah, USC next. Yeah, Colorado does have Southern California next, so things are not going to get easier for Coach Prime. And what do you think about Deion Sanders? I mean, for some people, he really rubs them raw. I mean, really, really rubs them raw with his, his attitude, the way he carries himself. I kind of like Coach Prime. I mean, he may be a little too aggressive at times, a little rough at times. Um, but I think he's a good football coach. I don't think Colorado has the roster to continue to maintain what they've been doing, and of course they met reality today. But another big test for them next week when they take on Southern Cal. So there you go. And Oregon, Georgia rematch. Ricky Willis says maybe. Hey, you never know. And boy, would that ever be a slobber knocker of a game. Now, here's what I want to see from the University of Georgia. What? Yeah, well, slobber knocker is if you don't know what that is, Google it or look it up in a dictionary of Southern terms. Okay, slobber knocker, and you'll find out that's a real football game, and you'll find out what that means. So, what we want to see from the University of Georgia today, we just want to see a good, clean game, very efficient. We want to see Carson Beck do very well. We want him, you want to see Carson Beck really have that game. Okay. We've been waiting on him. Seriously, we have. We've been waiting on Carson Beck to have that game. And I don't think it's happened yet. Maybe in spurts, maybe in splashes here or there. We want to see Carson Beck have that game today. Um, and we also want to see, we'd love to see the running back room for the University of Georgia. We'd love to see the running back room have our running game have a good game today. And Dejon Edwards, I think, will be back on the field today for Georgia, and that'll be good news. So, what do you want to see from Georgia today? You just want to see the offense do well. You want to see the offense clicking. You want to see the offense going. The defense is a little peaked at themselves, I understand, because Georgia now is the fifth ranked defense. When you take all those statistics together, put them together, and you come out with the formula, Georgia is now the fifth ranked defense in the SEC, and that does not sit well with the guys on the defensive side of the ball, and especially seeing the opponents that Georgia has had up to this point, and for that to be the case. And so the defense, and listen, I think this team is slowly feeling itself out. What is this team going to be? What kind of team is this going to be? Ricky says he's looking for 300 yards offense, 100 yards rushing, with 145 passing, 3 touchdowns, and no turnovers. Sounded good to me. So I think this Georgia team is slowly, I guess, finding itself. Each team has its own personality, and I don't maybe think Georgia is quite there in finding, the personality of this team. I think maybe, perhaps, sorta, kinda, that today will go a long way to determining exactly what kind of team that we have this year at the University of Georgia. So Georgia has won over UT Martin 48-7, first game of the season. Took out Ball State 45-3. And then last week, of course, the South Carolina game, 24-14. Georgia down 14-3 at halftime. And, we were thinking, okay, this can't be. South Carolina can't come in here again and beat Georgia again in Sanford Stadium. The last time Georgia had lost at Sanford Stadium had been to South Carolina a few seasons ago. But Georgia did rise up, dominated the second half. Georgia able to win. And so tonight, Georgia takes on UAB. It's a night game. And, folks in Athens love night games. They love night games. Now, for me, when I go to see the University of Georgia play, I don't mind a 12 o'clock game. Let's get it. Let's get it done. Let's get the victory in the column. And so I can go to the house. But folks really love the nighttime atmosphere in Athens, and you're going to have that tonight with the University of Georgia. But next Saturday, oh boy, here we go. Next Saturday, 3:30 on CBS. It'll be Georgia at Auburn, and that's going to be some kind of game. And then the following Saturday, you have Georgia and Kentucky. Kentucky winning today over Vanderbilt. Then the next Saturday, you have Georgia at Vanderbilt. Then on Saturday, October 28th, you have that game between Georgia and Florida. Saturday, November the 4th, Missouri will be coming to town. Then Saturday, November 11th, it'll be Ole Miss in Athens against Georgia. And then you got Saturday, November 18th, you have Tennessee. And that's going to be some kind of rematch. And that, of course, will be at Tennessee. And then Saturday, November 25th, Georgia and Georgia Tech round out the season. Can you believe it? We're already in the fourth game of the 2023 season. So what do you think? We're picking Georgia to win pretty significantly today. Hopefully, we'll see some good, sharp stuff from the Bulldogs on offense. Pretty good domination from the Bulldogs on defense, and make us feel a little better as we get into the tall weeds, as they say, of the SEC schedule and what Georgia will be facing in the weeks to come. So we're here at pregame. We're going to be bowing out of here as you guys get ready to watch this game. Just checking some of the scores, and I don't see anything significant going on. By the way, Notre Dame and Ohio State tonight, man, that's really going to be a good game. Kind of interesting. We'll be keeping an eye on that. I think Notre Dame are they a slight favorite? No, Ohio State is a slight favorite over Notre Dame. It's Ohio State at Notre Dame. That'll be starting at 7:30 as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. So just looking over the scores, don't see anything really that has changed much here recently. All right, guys, we're going to bow out of here. We'll be back at halftime and get your comments on what's going on at halftime in Athens. So as we bow out of here, as we get ready to go to the game, what do we always say? Go Dogs!